Rob will provide in P3. Not too much action though. Don't push anyone off the track this time, Rob. Would be nice. But the Red Bulls sitting pretty on what I believe is the 4th row. Let's do a bit of quick match, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4th row. As we have the lights going on in the background, 5 red lights for the Chinese Grand Prix Tier 1. Lights out and away we go. Looks like a good start for Nardo as Sakir comes across to cover that line into turn number 1. Hopefully we go through unscathed with any incidents, and it looks that way. A few guys washing wide, but pretty much everyone going through very cleanly. Nardo leading the way with a dominant turn 1 and a great start side by side with Rob and the Aston Martin of Scornsey. Scornsey has a bit of a wiggle on the exit there, but look at the lead Nardo has coming into the end of the Sector 1. And will there be any dive-ons into the first corner? You can see the Red Bull just about missing on the Aston Martin, but Milan moving up ahead of Silver Face, but Silver Face is not going to give that up too easily. As I say that, he does give it up too easily, and that is P6 so far. You can see the Red Bulls have moved in opposite directions. Milan gone up a few positions, Tom of course gone down a few positions, and Senior 11 down there in P13 out of the points playing positions as it stands. But with the Tier 1 guys, there will be probably about 5 or 6 retirements because they can't be asked about lap 4, I reckon. But yeah, moving on swiftly from that, we have guys moving left, right, centre. Matt Coper and Tomek and Ivy all going through number 13, having a bit of a fight. Let's see who uses up all the ERS. We have a great camera angle here. Who's going to go for moves as they all slot in line. No moves in particular, but will there be any dive bombs down into turn number 14? Tomek opts for an interesting line, but even more interesting line for Ivy. And a great move around the outside there for the house driver stepping in from Tier 3. But on to lap number 2, you can see Nardo has got within or outside of DRS range of Sakir. But the rest of the team are still within 1 second of the car in front. Let's get everything up, including tyres, position changes, etc. Track map already up, lap data, telemetry, you name it, we've got it. Matt Coper moving up the field dramatically to begin with, actually. Let's have a quick gander at the position changes. Up 5 so far for the Mercedes driver. So Jumpy Painter's pep talk has worked a treat. As you can see, quite a few guys in the end opted for the medium tyres. It'd be nice to know if there will be a 2-stop or it will be a 1-stop, because you can see, especially through Sector 2, how much demand these corners put on the tyres. Sakir managing to shake off Rob nearly without outside of DRS, but Nardo proving that he has the pace. Gained about 0.3 of a second so far on lap number 2. Let's see if, despite everyone being in DRS range, there are going to be people with slightly lower downforce setups, so this is where they will strive. Let's see Rob having a bit of a mare so far on 2% battery, and Scornsey is going to say thank you very much as Rob does a bit of coverage down the inside, but Scornsey, no, oh yeah, there's the action Rob was going to bring. Fortunately it's with the wall and not with another driver this time, so hopefully not too much damage picked up by the Williams, but he'll give Lemon a bit of competition. He'll give no one a bit of competition. Down to P15 for Rob. Will this be the first retirement prediction so far? I did say lap 4. Yep, there we go. Just too good. Just too good. A seasoned veteran in the commentary box. Was 1 lap off. Rob does leave the session after having a bit of a skill issue there, nearly colliding with Scornsey. Fortunately he didn't. But anyway, moving on swiftly. Nardo leading still with a 1.5 second gap now, so he's gained a 10th, but Sector 2 seems to be where he strives. He gained 3/10 on lap number 3 last time. So I think Sakir is running a bit of a lower downforce. You can see that interval gap growing by the second. 1.6 now, 1.7, and pretty much up to 1.8, just within a couple of corners there. Sakir just about shaking off Scornsey. Obviously the detection point is there, that line right there, so Scornsey I think just about will get DRS on the car ahead. Does have Milan full company, but he's going to have to use a bit of VRS because Milan is going to be wanting to get past here. He sees the gap is 1.2, but I don't think he realises that Scornsey will have DRS. He doesn't have DRS, even though he crossed the line, the detection line, with 9 temps, but stand corrected. He does close that gap up to 0.2 of a second, but he does have a bit of company behind with Selwa Face and Moikuli so far on the alternate strategy, who is doing well to stick with the cars in front. 0.5 of a second. So Curry might have had a bit of a moment back there. 5.8 seconds behind Ivy. And Lemon keeping second place from last season. Venjok, company back there on the alternate strategy as well. You can see a few gaps forming, as of course Dirty Air is going to be a bit of an issue through sector 2. Skier managing to pull in that gap a little bit. Obviously, he does seem to have a lower downforce setup, like I mentioned. But I do want to prove my theory right, and let's see if this gap goes down, up. Sorry. Yeah, does seem to go up through that, so he might have a slightly lower downforce setup. Nardo leading the way on lap number 4. Scornsey just about hanging on in there, but I feel like there might be a couple of moves coming down the back straight this time. Of course, Scornsey doesn't have DRS. Milan is about 0.3 closer this time round. Does have plenty of ERS to play with. You can already see he's burning just to get up to the back end of that Aston Martin. DRS will be enabled. Will this help him down into turn number 14? Looking like that will be the case. And he's going to stick behind and not do a rob and lock up the rears and go into a wall. Looks to go for a little bit of a switch back there, but thinks better of it, and he will be behind for another lap. Scornsey having a great lap actually. Looking to get the move on done. Oh, it's Milan. I truly stand corrected. Scornsey wasn't safe. Milan up to P3. And that might have helped the train get back onto the rear of that V-carb in P2. Land just about on that 1 second gap that you need to be within DRS. And as I've mentioned, Milan was definitely in, or just about in DRS range at the start of this lap. You can clearly see now the gap has closed from 0.9 of a second down to 0.5 now, and Matt Coper or Moikuli must have had a bit of a moment on the exit turn number 13 as Moikuli's down to P7, Matt Coper up to P6, making great inroads, and I think Moikuli is not going to be happy about losing that position. I think he might have to just stick with it. Come down into the start of lap number 6, locking the tyres a little bit, but that is Matt Coper up to P6, what I believe was P12, P13, and Selwa Face is right on the back of Scornsey. ERS enabled, and I don't think Scornsey is going to give this up too easily. You don't want to be side by side coming down into turn number 1. Selwa Face thinks better of it, but will he go for a bit of a craftier line into turn number 2? Opts for a bit of a wider exit, but I don't think that's going to be anything that's going to be done. But Moikuli has managed to go for an interesting line, like I mentioned. I think he might just about get the exit here. Matt Coper does have the outside line. Moikuli does have the better going into the start of sector 1. And that is back up to P6 for the Haas driver. You can see that the battling that has just happened has not really helped them at all. 1.4 is the gap now, so out of DRS for the Haas driver. So her face has gone past Scornsey at some point there. Nardo just improving his gap bit by bit each lap. It's 2.8 now the gap, so anyone stands a chance getting up into that top position at any point in this race. It will need to be any sort of undercut or potentially a safety car. Let's have our bit of a check up. Nearly quarter of the way through this race on the guys at the back. Lemon's shaking his wheel through turn 13 like he has Parkinson's, but nonetheless he's doing a great job back there in P12. on the hard tyres. Ivy slightly gaining on Lemon. I believe the gap earlier was about 3 seconds. But nonetheless, I will check up on these guys as promised earlier. Very grateful for them actually boosting the numbers. We would have been on 13 if it wasn't for these two stepping up. Lap number 7. Is there any moves up the top here? We still have DRS train all the way from Sakir in P2 down to Tomek in P10. And the guys that do have 2 constructor drivers tonight will be quite beneficial for them in the constructors. I didn't actually read out the constructors earlier, which is not ideal. Let's have a look at the constructor stands. Who leads the way? And it's Red Bull actually who lead the way, and I believe they do have 2 drivers, obviously Milan and Tom down in P9. Haas very close behind, 18 points behind. They went up 3 positions after the Texas Grand Prix last week. They're on 61, and they do have 2 drivers courtesy of Ivy. Racing Bulls are 4 points behind Haas, and I think it's just Sakir tonight, which is not ideal. I do believe there might be some moves going on now as we ride on board with Milan burning his ERS, and it might be side by side down into turn number 13. Milan being sensible thinks better of it. Does get quite close to the gearbox of this V-carb driver. And lap 8, Benjok will be our first pitter for this race. And that pretty much guarantees him as a 2-stopper. I'm pretty sure that'll be a medium hard for the kick Sauber drivers. Tom does have a little bit of a look and a little bit of a lock-up going into the Sector 1 split. Thinks about it up the inside of Stefan, but does very well to avoid the back of the Williams driver. But of course, these hard guys, sounds a bit wrong, hard tyre guys will be reaching that crossover point where the mediums will be starting to die off a little bit and the hard tyres will become the better tyre. But you can already see, even on the front left of Tom, it's a little bit of graining going on. Let's check the medium guys. And I don't know whether that's just a issue with Tom's tyre wear or just in general, but I can't see as much graining on Stefan. Can on the rears though, certainly, as Server Face must have had a massive moment there. He's lost 2, 3 positions, maybe even 4 here with Stefan. So tyre wear certainly catching these guys out. Will Tom go for a move as well? Fortunately for Server Face, he does only lose out on, I say unfortunately for Server Face, it's probably about 4 or 5 positions lost there, but the rears will start to be a bit of a pain in the arse as Serverface does peel off into the pits and will go for the 2-stop. Similar to Venjok. No speeding in the pit lanes this time, fortunately. Milan moves up on into P2, proving that he does have the pace over Sakir as it stands. Long race, well, still plenty of time to go. Just under a third through the race, Serverface and Curry peeling off into the pits, and that is retiree number 2 for Tier 1. Don't want to jinx it, but one more retirement and that guarantees every single finisher in this race with a championship point. Sakir has already lost out to Milan quite a bit actually. As he locks up and see that tyre wear is becoming a bit of an issue for these guys. Will Scornsy try and take advantage of Sakir losing out in DRS? Use a bit of ERS, obviously DRS is now enabled. Does have a good run on Sakir. Will he go for the move? Thinks better of it. Slots in behind the V-carb driver. Really might potentially get a better exit here. Bit of a wiggle saves otherwise though. Will anyone peel off into the pits? No, they will not. It's Ivy and Lemon going well in P10 and 11 down there. That Cope must have had a bit of a poor sector one there, or at the end of lap number 9, because he's now. Well, I say that it's just a commentator's curse after commentator's curse, isn't it? I was about to say he dropped out DRS, but he's clearly had a good exit on turn number 5, 6. That was close. Turn number 6, and he's now back within DRS by quite a substantial margin. Actually, I don't know if that's my lag or Matt Coper's lag, but. He has had another moment, and look at that gap climb. 9.5 tenths now. He's going to be right on the bubble as we get to the detection point, which is right here, this white line. And he is managed to recover the margin, and Moy Cooley is right on the back of Scornsy now. That crossover point of the tyres well and truly in action, and he's going to be using his ERS to try and get that move done. But it shows that Scornsy either has ridiculously low downforce or a lot of ERS to spare, as he is going to go for the move on Sakir, but Sakir does make a bit of a dodgy move across into the braking zone, fortunately just before it, but I don't think Scornsy will be too pleased with that. And Nardo is going to be the first of the leaders to pit, and Nardo gets a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and that is going to be a massive blow as Sakir has ran Scornsy off the road once again, and Moy Cooley is going to take advantage of that. Need to be careful into the braking zone, Sakir. It's them esports boys, they're teaching him bad habits. But Nardo, even with that 10-second penalty, or even with that, should I say, he's going to have to serve that penalty if he does come in for another stop. Of course, the hard tyres, I'm not sure how long they can go for. I feel like Moy Cooley and Tom are going to be the guinea pigs for that one, just to see how much time they well and truly can go on, or how many laps should I say these can go on for, as Nardo makes light work of Ivy. Still yet to pit on them tyres, but obviously 10 lap old mediums compared to fresh hard compound tyres, it's going to be no competition, as Lemon has made his pit stop and opted in for the 2-stop again. Actually, I think Lemon was actually starting on hards. Obviously he will still have to do 2 stops. Pit for mediums, he's not going to go about 17 laps on the medium tyres, and Nardo peeling off into the pits. Will that be a bit of a trigger for the guys in the lead DRS train? Oh, Sakir, man. And will that be a safety car? What's going on here? Why is... So no safety car, but Sakir, I mean, it could be the contact model. It's hard to tell. I mean, I have the clip there. I just clipped to it, but it could be the contact model. But at the same time, Sakir might have moved across in the braking zone there, not leaving much room for the Haas driver. And Moy Cooley won't be too happy because he is certainly up there in the championship. But under the VSC conditions, of course, that gives the guys that are yet to pit a chance to get a bit of leeway in terms of time. You can see that Nardo did have that the gap between Milan. I believe it was 3 or 4 seconds to the Red Bull driver, but of course now Milan, with that VSC pit stop, has now come up ahead of Nardo, and these guys are going to be tooth and nail to the end now. Nardo still has a 10-second speed in the pit lane penalty, which is not great, but we're now down to 4 retirees because Venjok, I believe, retired on track, so bit of a double whammy there, but that does now mean everyone will score points in this race. Yeah, Scornsy expressing himself in the Tier 1 chat. about how he felt with the Sakir incident, but understandably. But it's now a Red Bull 1-2. Tom is yet to pit. That'll bolster their lead in the championship if Tom can pull off some sort of masterclass, even potentially with a safety car now. But you can see the field spread after the pit stops now. Everyone has pit bar Tom up in front, and yeah, this might be a bit of a snooze fest for the final half of the race. We're not even halfway. Criminal as Lemon does make a move on Ivy back there. These guys are now going to go side by side into the final corner. Lemon with the move up into P9 on those fresh medium tyres. These guys are going to be battling out. I think Ivy's not going to take any of that. No, sir. Side by side down to turn 1. This is the action you want to see. Good, close, quality racing there with no contact whatsoever from the tier 3 and 4 guys. Battling it out for 9th position there. Lemon coming out on top. Things you love to see as a... So we faces our 5th retirement of the race. Now down to 10 runners. And I did say this would be a bit like a battle royale with the tier 1 retirees. Only 9 people left to retire. You can see the gap now. I think a couple of laps ago it was 9.7 the gap between Tom and Milan. And with that tyre deficit of about 11 laps between Tom and Milan, you can see Milan has made quite a bit of a gap and even got away from Nardo. Obviously still within DRS. That gap's gone from 9 tenths to 5 tenths within the space of a single straight. Hopefully Scornsy, with that contact with Sakir earlier, hasn't got damaged. Doesn't look like he has an end plate missing. He has now lost out time to the V-Carb driver and does have Stefan and Matt Coper full company though. As Ivy and Lemon are still going at it. Ivy getting the better drive out of turn number 14 and into the final corner. Starting lap number 14. He will be the better driver between the two. Tomek in his own world in the Aston Martin as they go for round 2. These guys do not like turn 1 whatsoever. I mean, it's making for an entertaining watch, but yeah, a bit more room needed for each driver through that complex of corners. As I was mentioning, Tomek in his own world, in essentially a dream world, because he doesn't want to be anywhere near Ivy and Lemon if they're racing like that. But at the same time, he's scoring some consistent points for Aston Martin. Where are they in the Constructors' Championship? I never finished my talk earlier about the Constructors. Aston Martin are 8th, joint 8th with Mercedes, I think. Curry retiring, and Matt might have a bit of a skill issue later on in the race, or even a retirement, you never know. Why not join the other 5? Scornsy holding on for dear life in P5. Does still have Stefan full company. Stefan, quite a bit of ERS to play with as he comes out of the exit to start lap number 15. He is going to burn quite a bit, but thinks better of it. And the gap is just simply not going to close that much down in turn number 1. Scornsy lives to tell the tale for another day. And Lemon must have had a bit of a moment on that lap, because these guys are not going to be battling it out in turn 1 this time. Ivy going for the esports line. Just about pops out DRS of Lemon for that little period of time. Well, let's just have a little bit of a look with the 10-second penalty as it stands. Of course, we have quite a bit of the race to go. Let's just check how far a 10-second penalty would drop Nardo. I mean, behind Matt Coper. So, not ideal for the Alpine driver. Hopefully he can serve it under some sort of safety car for his benefit, but... And I mean, a safety car would probably be quite ideal right now. Looking at the track map in the bottom right. it is like a bit of a mixed tier championship. I mean, it quite literally is a mixed tier championship at the moment, but oh, there is fights going on further back as Stefan makes the move. And Scornsy might opt for the switchback here. He doesn't. Still opts for that outside line, but he is going to be quite close. Coming down into the final, or not final lap, what am I on about? It really has been a long day. He does have DRS, Scornsy. I think he may stay behind Stefan going into turn number 1. And he does think better of it. Bit of a Vietnam flashbacks from Sakir, forcing him off in turn number 1. The downside of these two fighting is that Matt Coper is going to be wanting to get past these guys. With a double dose of DRS, it's going to be pretty difficult. He does burn his DRS, and he might go for the move down the inside. Sticks his nose up there. Scornsy gives him the room. Thank you very much, says Mr. Coper. Up into P6. And Scornsy's getting a bit bullied this race, I must say. Still plenty of time. Surprised there isn't many track limit penalties, actually. Now I think of it. And as I say that, Tom definitely opting for the 1 stop, but that is going to hold his teammate up a little bit. Coming down into the back straight. I don't think there's going to be much of a fight here, but Nardo will be looking to get past the Red Bull as well, just to make sure there's no hold-ups. And why is he going into non-ERS mode? What's going on here? What in the wizardry of Red Bull is going on here? I think Tom is going to let him go. I don't know what was happening there. Yeah. Interesting. Tom does peel off into the pits, and that's probably why he was being a bit of a nuisance to Nardo, but not too much going into the corner entry. Should be a set of mediums bolted on, but you can see going for that overcut is not going to work too well for him, and he will have the likes of Ivy and Lemon for company. Let's see where he does come out in comparison to these guys. I think it'll be more Lemon. Lemon needs to work on his ERS management, but I will give him the benefit of the doubt, as he is a bit of a peasant in Tier 4. But I'm sure Tom will make light work of Ivy on them fresh medium tyres. Looking to get onto the back of Tomek, of course. That's quite a gap, actually. And I'm terrible at maths, so I'm going to say about 15 seconds. And I don't think Ivy will fight this too much. Yep, there you go. Ivy knows. And Tom up into P8 very easily there. Sakir must have had a bit of a moment. I was keeping an eye on the gap. It was 2.2 seconds from himself to Nardo. It's now 3 seconds. Stefan, Matt Coper and Scornsy, I will keep an eye on that gap as well, as Lemon pits for what I imagine will be 2 stop. Well, it is a 2nd stop, so another Will Buxton quote for you there. Lemon pits twice, he will be opting for the 2 stop. And on to a set of hards, which should, of course, take him to the end with 11 laps to go. Stefan proved to be a bit of a consistent dark horse. I think round 1, I'm now looking at the race results, Stefan on round 1. Got 9th place. Round 2, I believe, did race for round 3 at Singapore. He had some very good pace. I believe there was wet conditions there. That's P4 for him. And P5 last week at the Kota Grand Prix. And of course, at the moment, it's looking like either 4th, 5th, or 6th between themselves, Matt Coper and Scornsey. You can see how much the fresh mediums have closed up onto the back of Tomek, or Tom. As he does set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, that should be an extra point to his name. The advantages of going for the alternate strategy is you, of course, probably 9 times out of 10 will get that fastest lap time. And just in the distance there, coming up to the Sector 1 split, is Tomek, and let's just keep an eye on the gap now. It should dramatically close with the tyre deficit difference. Matt Coper picking up the first track limit penalty of this evening in P4. So that pretty much guarantees Stefan and Scornsey the 4th and 5th position, of course, if they do not get a penalty themselves. And will Stefan think about going for the move? He thinks otherwise. So Matt Cope has a bit of a lock-up that won't help his tyre wear in the long run. And Mr. Milan, who said he doesn't want to be here tonight, proving that maybe it was the right decision to turn up. Don't know why he wanted this gap. I suppose because of the amount of amount of races he might miss in the future. He will want a bit of a big championship lead going into the races. These Matt Coper. Oh, bit of contact between Stefan and Matt Coper. Scornsey has a little bit of a look up the inside. Fortunately, they all go unscathed and carry on as they were. But Scornsey did have a little bit of a look up the inside. Of course, he'll be wanting to race Stefan for position. Matt Coper getting that track limit penalty is going to hamper him over the checkered flag. Or when the checkered flag flies, should I say, sorry. Let's see if Tomek will put up much of a fight, as Tom has a full tank of ERS and will have a helping hand with DRS. Tomek already starting the weaving games. Halfway down the straight, I don't think it's actually going to be enough. Going down into turn number 14, Tomek will have to slot behind, of course. Oh, as loses the rear there, Tomek. That will be the switchback that Tom would have wanted. Starting lap number 21 now. They're going to go side by side through the corner, and that's never going to work through there. Hopefully didn't pick up a track limit warning, but that should... Ooh. Tom very kindly let Tomek through. Alain Langer must have had a moment there. What has happened to our championship leader? Well, DJ Perks joined. Mate, you could have joined earlier. Brought the numbers up to 16. You could have been the 6th retiree. And yeah, I don't know what quite happened with Milan. Hopefully it wasn't an incident between the two and it was just a driver error, because that'd have been a bit unfortunate. And of course, I mean, Nardo's pretty much guaranteed to lose out on this, so as it stands, provisionally, Sakir is our race leader. That could be changing due to Stewart's decisions though, and I'm not going to name incidents, but there are a few that might potentially be reported. Just going to say that. Lemon, I will check up on you now. How are you doing, sir? You're keeping it tidy through corner entry there as I'm in game chat now. Basically doing the Pierre Gasly equivalent in the sprint race at Spa with the weekend just gone. Just getting a few laps in. And swap up on the consistency is proven to be much needed. I'm just pulling your leg, Lemon. I'm awful around here. Ivy doing okay in P9. Of course, these guys will score points for the constructors. I'm going to hope that it is for their own constructors. I believe actually they're both Aston Martin. So won't be helping the right guys. Unfortunately, they're not racing for V-Car, which would have been great, but anyway. Let's have a bit of a race update, shall we, guys? Let's have a look. Lap number 22, coming down to the finish of lap 22, shall I say, sorry. Ready to start lap number 23. Nardo still leads on track, but he does, of course, have about 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. You can see from the gap, actually, between Nardo and Sakir. He's already got that gap up to halfway to what he needs to remain in P number 1. Scornsy, Matt Cope having a bit of a moment. I think Matt Cope is actually peeling off into the pits for what I assume is going to be a 2-stop, surprisingly. But as I was mentioning, Nardo still in P1, 5-second gap between himself and Sakir in P2, with Milan for company in P3. After that mistake a couple of laps ago, of course, he's now going to be stuck behind V-Cab driver. These guys could work together to close the gap to Nardo, but it's going to be pretty tough work, I'm not going to lie, with the gap slowly increasing. Stefan doing a great job in P4, and of course Scornsy in P5 after having his run-ins with a few drivers on track through no fault of his own. Tom doing well on the alternate strategy in P6. Tomek also doing well to keep in touch with the Red Bull driver ahead, especially with the tyre deficit, of course, 5 laps difference and on the weaker compound. Ivy, our tier 3 driver, used to be tier 3 driver, who has now got Matt Coper for company, who has opted for the 2-stop. I'm pretty sure it's the only one on the grid, bar Lemon, who has gone for the 2-stop. Of course, if you're on pad around here, it's criminal to even think about doing a 1-stop. I don't know how you guys do it. Sakir Milan having a bit of to and fro, and I believe Sakir did get the better. But will Milan think about going for the move to start lap number 24? And Sakir does give his opponent the room this time, and Milan sweeps on through into turn number 1 ahead of the sister company, Red Bull, should I say. Be interesting to see how much progress Matt makes on these fresh mediums. It'll be sort of good evidence for the guys that are watching that might want to go for that 2-stop later in the week. Obviously the tier 3, 4 and 5 guys will be watching, as we have a yellow flag, and that is Ivy, who's had a bit of a moment coming out of turn number 4. Matt going for that fastest lap, and we'll obviously get an extra point if he can beat Tom's fastest lap time. Let's have a quick look at that fastest lap. Which one is it? Fastest lap, there we go. So 35.1 to beat Mr. Coper. Can you do it? Time will tell. 7 tenths up on his previous, well, his current best, which is a 35.7. So that will be a 35 flat as it stands, and of course he still has the rest of the lap to improve on what he has done so far. Should be a pretty comfortable fastest lap, of course. Less fuel than Tom when he pit 7 laps ago, so it should be an easy fastest lap for the Mercedes driver. Another point, and 1 less point for Jumpy Painter to moan about. I will keep bringing him up, because he does moan all the time, so I will bring him up all the time. But we are on lap number 25 now. Nardo improving with his gap, and Mr. Copa goes with a 34.2, beats Tom's lap time by about 9/10 of a second. Disgusting. But I will go back to interval. Nardo has improved, or increased the gap, sorry, shall I say, between himself and Milan. Sakir has dropped out of DRS. These guys both on the same tyre life, but obviously tyre management does come into it, and of course setup does come into it as well in regards to tyre, where these guys obviously running slightly different setups or potentially just have slightly different driving styles. But 6.7 is now the gap, and Mr. Nardo will need another 3.5 seconds if he wants to keep that P1, which he's proven to have the pace certainly, but he's shaken off the competition of Milan and Sakir at the start of the race. I believe he will get podium now. He has driven a great race in terms of race pace. Not really had much company. He did have a bit of company with Milan earlier, but I just don't know what happened to Milan. I didn't manage to catch it on the track map, and I just flicked to him, of course, when he was battling with Sakir in P3. Tomic gets passed by Matt Copa, and tell you what, he might even get Tom, so he will be P6, which he would have been anyway if he was still within the train of Stefan and Scornsey. So he will have an extra point to his name with that fastest lap. So Ivy gets a track limit penalty. He'll want to iron them out today, ready for his race in Tier 3 tomorrow. I've still got the spectator menu up. Is this amateur hour? Bloody hell. But we have 3 laps remaining. As what has been, I'd say, there's been moments of greatness, but a majority of pretty boring race, as it always is at China. Obviously quite a challenging track for the drivers with tyre wear and strategy, especially on this game with how quick the guys chew through the tyres. Fastest lap and pit stops, please. Sure thing, chef. If I can find them. So stops, we have top 6 on 1 stop, Matt Copa and Lemon on the 2 stops, and Tomic and Ivy of course on the 1 stop as well. Fastest lap goes to Mr. Copa, and I don't think anyone's going to beat that unless there is anyone that decides to pit, but I don't think there will be anyone else to pit, if I'm honest, because they will lose out on positions, and it wouldn't really be worth the extra point if they are going to lose out on the positions. But yeah, only Matt and Lemon opting for the 2 stop, the rest of the guys opting for the 1 stop. Apart from Sarah with Face, who's gone for the 3 stop and a retirement, which is not the optimal strategy. I will get back to, actually, let's have a quick look at position changes. On the penultimate lap, we've got a bit of spare time before Nardo crosses the line. You can see Stefan's had a great race as always. He does seem to qualify a little bit lower, but does manage to gain ground throughout the race. He does have quite consistent race pace. Milan doing well in P2, up 5 positions there. Mr. Copa up 7 positions, and I feel like the only ones that have lost out are Sakir and Scornsey, and that's only by 1 position. So pretty much everyone's had a great race, especially the guys in 9th and 10th, who are pretty much getting a practice run in, ready for tomorrow, as I've mentioned earlier. But we'll go back to the tyres now as we start the final lap with Nardo, and Milan does have a bit of a look up there into the entry of turn number 14, but Nardo has already begun the final lap. It's not going to quite be enough. He has got the gap to 8 seconds, but if Milan is still going to be making mistakes like that, you can see Milan actually does have no ERS saved up. So Nardo, if he does have a good lap, you can see 8.4 now the gap, so we will have to keep an eye on this in this final lap. He does have ERS to spare, and could this be a potential steal of the lap? It's a bit of an ask, 1.7 seconds quicker. It does just take 1 single mistake from Milan So he does need to just run a consistent and calm final lap here to guarantee himself that win and go into the break, or his break should I say, with an even bigger championship lead over Leo Mayer, who's not racing of course tonight, and Moy Cooley, who DNF'd from an unfortunate incident with Sakir early on in the race. And I think it pretty much guarantees the win for the Red Bull driver here. I mean, the top three have, in terms of pace, had a good race. Sakir has had his run-in with other cars. Milan, of course, I don't know what went on there with Nardo. It might have been a driver error, but still he has proven to be quite quick this race as well. But Nardo has been in his own league this entire race. Locking up a little bit there, but pretty much flawless from the Alpine driver as he comes up to the final corner now. It's not quite a race win in Singapore, but he does come around the final corner and guarantees himself a win here in China on track, as Milan does come around the corner for yet another victory here in Revolution. It's round number 5 and another victory for the Red Bull driver. Milan wins after the penalties for the Chinese Grand Prix. Sakir getting himself a podium provisionally. Stefan, a great race from himself once again, followed closely by Scornsey, who I will say he did get bullied a little bit, but where are we? There we go, interval. As Tom does get himself P6. Matt Cooper just about missing out on P7 there. Tomic, great race from him in P8. Mr. Consistent there. And Ivy and Lemon give themselves a pat on the back for taking part in the race. Of course, 2 tiers difference for Ivy and 3 tiers difference for Lemon. But very good practice for themselves for tomorrow. And that has been the Chinese Grand Prix. Tier number 1. Best of the best. Obviously still quite a few retirements